going to go back to Todd Marks and ask him right before we went to the break. You know, I talked to some Republicans who said he's got to get rid of Karl Rove. You know, he's become a liability. The president has to get rid of him. You disagree? Well,
if the reference to a liability is the inability of the White House to reform Social Security or to pass immigration reform, which in a lot of the editorials around the country are pinning the blame on Karl Rove for not doing that, I would look back to even President Clinton when he ran against Senator Dole. His promise was, I'm going to reform, I won't do my impersonation, it's good to know. But his promise was to reform Social Security, appoint a blue ribbon commission. Even Bob Dole was appointed. What happened there? Presidents for a long time have promised to reform Social Security, which is not a trust and it's not a fund, which is also a great myth that the American people should know about. But immigration reform as well. I think if there is one critique that I would say is that Senator McCain and Karl Rove and the Republicans that maybe bit off a little too much to try to do comprehensive immigration reform rather than focusing on what would pass right now, and the 84% of the American people would support stronger security measures to seal off the border, which needs to happen before some other tragedy occurs as a result of it.
All right, Frank in St. Petersburg, what do you say?
Well, I'll tell you, this is towards Jim Davis. I think that Karl Rove is a responsible statesman, and if I had to have a brain, instead of, like, if George Bush has Karl Rove, I would like that much better than having Bill Clinton having Hillary Clinton's brain. And I'll leave it at that.
I don't know if she's ever been called Bill's brain, but who knows what's going to happen in the next election. But you know, one of the things I read about Rove was that he really did have a mission to move the Republican Party into total dominance, to sort of reverse all the dominance of the Democratic Party started achieving in the years of FDR, and that was the real goal, was to establish Republican dominance. Now that he is leaving, has he done it? Has he done it, or has he fallen short?
I agree that was the goal. Now, this is an insider thing, but I agree. But I think it actually backfired. I think what's actually happening now is you've got a lot of people who voted Republican in the past who are actually looking for an alternative. And depending on whether the Democrats, whoever the nominee for president is or a candidate for Congress, what they have to say, people are open to change. I think there is a growing appetite, a growing fatigue in this country with the agenda associated with the president and Karl Rove.
Bruce in Clearwater, your turn.
Yeah, I just wanted to call and congratulate these fine gentlemen here. I really agree with them. Karl Rove was just a genius, as well as President Bush. They've done such a beautiful job that not only have they ruined the Republican Party, they've ruined this country. I mean, come on, people, wake up and look at the facts. If the man was such a genius, why is he turning tail and running before? Because he wants to avoid prosecution.
Okay, go ahead. You want to jump in, Todd?
Well,
why would he leave?
I'll save the last comment on the prosecution for later. But look, Karl Rove, no question, he's a genius politically. 2002 was unprecedented gains for a midterm election for a first-term president, which I had the fortune to travel the country with President Bush at that time for the midterm elections. Even 2006 to come back after the midterms there and to make the gains that he made. Now, I'm sorry, 2004. But 2006, look, a football coach can't control injuries and some outlier facts. You know, there were some outliers in the 2006 election that led to some narrow Republican losses, and Karl Rove and the Republican Party still almost maintained victories in certain seats. But if you look at the Florida Republican Party, the great courage and the encouragement that I take is that the Florida Republicans were reelected in droves because they kept their promises to cut taxes, control spending, reform education, and do the necessary things that maybe some in our party nationally may have fallen short on, but Florida Republicans continue to hold that.
What about the caller that said, I think he got out to avoid prosecution?
The prosecution has nothing to do with what position he holds.
It's just the Valerie Plame issue and all that.
I believe so, and I think that has been examined, and he was not indicted. From where I sit, I don't know any more than the public does. I think he's very fortunate he wasn't indicted, but I think nonetheless the damage was done to the credibility of the White House. Now the damage the country's experiencing, this is ultimately about us, not the White House, is the U.S. attorneys and the level of politicization that has taken place, and the fact that the integrity of the Attorney General is being called into question now. I think this is undermining the ability of the country to have U.S. attorneys and a Attorney General who are there to uphold the law.
All right, Larry and Sebring, final comment, sir.
Just want to disagree with the person that called a while ago and said that nobody respected the president. I respect him because he's doing a job that hardly nobody can ever do.
Doing a job, well, it is a hard job. You're absolutely right, Larry. Anything that you guys want to say? We have 30 seconds left. The legacy of Karl Rove and the impact on the presidency.
Well, I was just going to say briefly, if Karl Rove wanted to avoid prosecution, it seems there would be more protection as a member of the president's staff. Regardless, the president's legacy will be defined probably 25, 30 years from now. His greatest legacy will be based on national security. He's done an excellent job, and I don't want to take the whole 30 seconds.
And the Iraq War will be a big part of his legacy as well, will it not?
At the end of the day, it's not about Karl Rove. It's about the president. Whether it's President Bush or the next president or President Clinton, this person is the commander-in-chief, and he or she is ultimately responsible for the people that work for them.
Take a break. Back in a moment. Yeah. Many thanks to my guests today for joining us. Jim Davis, Todd Marks, talking about the legacy of Karl Rove and his influence on the White House. Blog if you want on myfoxtampabay.com. Tell us what you think, and have a great afternoon, everyone.